That's right, everybody. As always, thank you so much for tuning into this channel and making Beyond the Black Vault your live stream of choice, at least for the next, who knows how long this will be, but probably not that long. But I wanted to go beyond the Black Vault and take you guys on a journey. And where are we going today? Well, there's been some new UAP photos that have been posted by MysteryWire.com. Now, if you don't know this site, I love the core reason why it was created, and a lot of the videos they have are from George Knapp's very extensive reporting on UFOs, paranormal events, all sorts of stuff, going back quite a few years. I love that kind of stuff. I think that that should be more readily available. So kudos to him for starting the site. It has morphed into doing some news articles, some reporting that breaks off from George Knapp's KLAS TV normal day job through the investigative reporting that he does there. He does both. Sometimes it goes hand in hand with each other. I'm not really sure what the relationship is. It's not very important to this video, but anyway, if you're not familiar with MysteryWire.com, definitely check it out. I do recommend it. What I want to do with this video, as we go beyond the Black Vault, is break down the photographs now that have leaked out. As if 2020 couldn't get any stranger, 2021 has followed, and now there's more UFO, UAP photos and news and excitement and all sorts of craziness. So who knows what will happen by the time that UAP report is actually released, whenever that may be. I want to go ahead and tell you guys a little bit about what we know about the photos, and then I want to do a little bit of a thought experiment, because some of you know that I get very skeptical about leaked anything. And when the sole source or sources are all anonymous, that bothers me a lot for numerous reasons. And I know that some people rather would know but have nothing backed up versus not knowing. And that's a different conversation in itself. I don't necessarily think we shouldn't know, but I think that we need to be realistic with what is in front of us. Now, if you're not aware, as I mentioned, MysteryWire.com has recently released 3 new UAP photos, allegedly from the U.S. Navy, and allegedly ones that are considered unidentified, and allegedly ones that have been critiqued, analyzed, and investigated by the UAP task force. Let me show you the photos. This is MysteryWire.com. This is their homepage as it stands when I record this anyway, and that's one of the top stories. And here are the 3 UFO photos. This is the story that they posted. Lots of people got excited. Lots of people got upset. So where I lie is irrelevant. Where you lie is up to you. But here are the 3 photographs. I want to go ahead and zoom them in for you guys so you can take them all in all their glory. Here is what is called the sphere. Now, these nicknames are given to the photographs according to the article by the U.S. Navy. Okay, so I didn't nickname these. These are by the Navy. I see my screen's a little cut off there, but that's okay. You could read that. The sphere. That's number 1. Here it is a little bit zoomed in for you guys. That would be the sphere. Now, next up is the acorn. Now, this may look familiar to you guys. This is very, very, very similar to the object known as the Batman balloon. At least that's what people have called it. I say similar because the claim is this is a different photograph taken obviously within seconds of the other photograph that had leaked, and I've done a video on that on this channel as well. But that being said, it's said to be a similar photo, not the same. To be honest with you, I didn't care enough to waste the time to match them up pixel to pixel. I'm sure they are different, just very similar, whatever. Doesn't matter to me other than here's photo number 2, nicknamed the acorn, very similar to what we have already seen. Let me zoom in for you guys. That is the acorn in all of its pixelated glory for you guys, all zoomed in. Third is the most interesting to me. At least just because it kind of looks cool. The metallic blimp. Nicknamed the metallic blimp. So you can see that on your screen. This was photo number 3. And to zoom in for you guys, doesn't change it much, but you can see you really can't tell a whole lot. You just can't. The photographs don't have the detail. They are definitely not the originals. And those gigantic watermarks you see are from Mystery Wire, hence the MW. Now, I don't fault them for watermarking them. They've gotten a little bit of flack from some people. To be honest with you, I get it. I mean, it's never ideal for research purposes and those that want to do their own analysis. But hey, all the more power to them. They want to watermark it. If this turns out to be taxpayer material, public domain, I do hope that they release all of the high resolution versions. But for now, hey, it's their story. They could do what they want. I understand, and don't harp on them for that. So that's the metallic blimp. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole story for you guys. I just kind of pulled some bullet points for you. But here is, according to George Knapp's reporting, what we know about those 3 photographs. Now, these encounters occurred on the same exact day, which was March 4th, 2019. Very interesting that the gimbal and go fast videos, when the Navy finally addressed when those were taken, also occurred on the same day. So we have a little bit of similarity there in the sense that when UFOs and UAPs appear, they happen to just do so on the same day. What that means, who knows? But I found that as a simple, interesting coincidence. Another thing we found out, quote, military and intelligence officials are, another quote, baffled by the objects. Yet no military or intelligence officials are actually named. And the quote of baffled, we don't know where that comes from. So there's no source for that. The Navy nicknamed the objects, as I've already pointed out to you guys, but how do we know that? It's not named in the article. There aren't even really anonymous sources. Generally, they'll say source XYZ who wishes to remain anonymous. But this one, they don't even mention any sources. They just kind of tell you everything. And I'm not here to preach about what you can or can't or should or shouldn't do as a journalist. That's not my job. I leave that to the professionals and those that have been writing for decades and decades. But as a reader, and a reader that likes to investigate, it is nice to have all of that to follow up, or at least have evidence to prove what is going on, yet none of that exists. George Knapp learned about the photos on April 6, 2019. It was during a private meeting with Robert Bigelow. Now, if you do the math, that is just over a month after the encounters took place. Now, let's think about this very quickly and very logically. We know that ATIP had long ended by that point by quite a few years. Now, what was Robert Bigelow doing on the receiving end of these photographs? I can tie him in through official documentation on the commercial side with the FAA, which has since been removed. But why the military? How did he get a hold of this? There's a lot of speculation. Was this a MUFON submission that he got a hold of because he bought the archive or is well entrenched or was entrenched in that? Did the military give it to him? If so, why? Because ATIP had ended, allegedly, years prior. Mr. Luis Elizondo was already retired. Yes, ATIP had continued, sure, but or so the claim goes. I'm sorry, don't write me hate mail, but that's just a claim. We don't know that for sure yet. But if ATIP continued, whether under that name or another, why was why was Robert Bigelow involved in that? And if he was, do we have a story here? I don't think so, because we haven't seen any evidence, nor have we heard any claims of it. But that's really fast to get those photographs. So who knows? That's a big fat question mark. The article also stated that the Navy wanted to, quote, snag one, unquote, to capture it for study. That's a quote, not from George Knapp's writing, but a quote that he is quoting. There is no source for that. So who is telling George Knapp that we want to snag one when it comes to these UAPs? And how many mid-air at thousands, tens of thousands of feet? How many times have we snagged any aircraft? Off the top of my head, anyway, I can't figure that out. So that seems like kind of a silly thing to say. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not logical. That doesn't mean that it didn't happen. But that doesn't make any real sense to me. Shoot it down and recover it? All right, I can buy that. But snag one to study it? Well, how do we know who the occupants are? How do we know there's occupants at all? How do we know there's technology? And how, if we can only get these very grainy 1 or 2 photographs, or at least that's what we're kind of led to believe anyway, how would you be able to capture something physically if you can't even capture a photo or a video of it? Maybe there are videos and photos. That's a little bit of an assumption. But regardless, why would you leak out the grainy parts? Why wouldn't you just leak out the 5-minute amazingly close video where if we had the capability or a helicopter or something that we could go stationary and grab the thing, great. But can you see a lot of this doesn't make sense when you start really dissecting what the claims are? The objects, quote, remained unidentified after, quote, careful study by the UAPTF. Of course, no sources for that. How do we know that the photos are unidentified? One thing that I've said for a long time is context is key, and we're going to deal with that in a minute or two. But how do we know when nobody is quoted? Is it an assumption? Is it a given? Is it a what we want to believe? I'm not sure. When I say stuff like that, I'm not trying to be sarcastic or funny, but rather these are questions that we just don't have the answer to. And this is not the first story like this that uses primarily and solely anonymous sources for this material. And it's frustrating. It really is. It's cool to see the photos, but it's only cool because we're led to believe it's a certain thing. Yet, what we're led to believe it is not backed up by anything. That may make people cringe and throw things at me through the monitor, but it's true. We just have nothing to go on. Now, in the article, he goes into detail of what times it was taken. That's interesting because obviously he's getting that information somewhere. And when this original, we'll call it the Batman balloon photo, which everybody seems to know it by that. When that leaked out originally by another blog site who writes about tech and science and so on, they had originally posted what seemed to be the original photograph. For whatever reason, they had removed the metadata. When people had posted that and said, hey, you know what, let's go ahead and try and figure out what details we can deduce from this, and they kept revisiting the metadata did not match the reporting. It was taken in 2019 by an iPhone, and yet the photograph itself appeared in a 2018 report. It did not appear to be a picture of a picture, which might be an explanation, but there's no evidence to that. And the explanation that was given by the site that first leaked it was reduced in size because of the amount of traffic that they got. So it took me all of about a minute and a half to download the original, look at the new one where the metadata was stripped, and the new one that was supposed to be smaller was actually bigger. So that explanation didn't come about. I point that out because it's a little mysterious on why that information was deleted. But regardless, this is from the original. I also gave you that backstory in case anybody wants to fact check me. If you do go to that original site, it will not look like this, or at least it didn't when I double checked. But I had already downloaded the original. Plus, you can get it on Wayback Machine, and I've archived it on theblackvault.com. I'll link it in the show notes so you guys can download it, have fun with it. The metadata shows that it was an iPhone, just like George Knapp reported. And if you look at the date, it matches to the minute. So did he pull it from this? I don't know, but that's where he got it. He then talked about the sphere photograph, and that was taken at 2:44. So my assumption is he's got the metadata for the other photos. They did not upload those, as you know. They heavily watermarked them and stripped all that data. But regardless, they must have better copies that they're holding on to. Why are they holding on to it? Your guess is as good as mine, but I will read from him, from George Knapp's article where it addresses that. Other photos taken on the same day, March 4th, 2019, have never been made public until now. Mystery Wire has taken the steps of watermarking these photographs in the article. We will, at a later date, release the photographs without watermarks. I hope that means that they will include the original photos where we might be able to assume they got this exact timestamp. Whether or not that happens, who knows? Now, as I mentioned, context absolutely matters in this. I did a video on the Batman balloon when that came out, and sure enough, from a select few, got quite a bit of heat. But I know that you guys like to see at least a breakdown of what's going on, and then I throw my 2 cents in there, and I always love chatting with you guys in the comments section here on YouTube or on various social media, because that's one of the most fun aspects of why I do this channel, is to communicate, even if you don't agree with me. I know sometimes chatter and stuff like that can get heated or seemingly heated. Social network is never fun for having a debate like that, especially when Twitter, you need to keep your character count so short. But regardless, I love doing that nonetheless. So in that video, I don't want to go over the same points, but in that video, I talked about the context, that it's very well and true that this anonymous source who originally leaked the Batman balloon could have put it out there for being something from the UAP task force and or a report that they're using. But it was never determined, at least by the writing of that article, why it was in the report. Let's just say it was a Batman balloon. I'm not 100% convinced, but it sure seems like one, but or a balloon of some kind. But regardless, get away from that debate. Let's just say that it is a balloon. It could absolutely appear in a UAP task force report as an example of what can be identified, what can be looked at, and after analysis and determination, identified. That a UAP, what is determined as a UAP from the get-go, later turns out to be identified. They could absolutely have that primer. We know for a fact Project Blue Book did. And I know that for a fact because I've seen the material. And the material obtained by researcher Rob Mercer, who had donated the digital copies to the Black Vault so anybody can download all of it for free, was saved by a Project Blue Book former officer. And within that were literally books and books and books of reference material of astronomical objects and meteorological phenomena and so on and so forth. It would be unfair to take material from those reference books and say, aha, this is from the UFO study by the U.S. Air Force, right? That would be taking it out of context. So knowing why that photo was there was the brunt of my whole point. The same logic applies to these photographs. We have no idea, number one, if it's even real, right? We don't know who the source is. But on top of that, we're operating off of a lot of assumptions, myself included. I tried to note them in this video where I'm just you kind of have to guess to fill in the blanks. And is that very helpful? Not really, to be honest with you. So here's what I want to do in this video. I want to show you guys a story. It's a little bit of a thought experiment to further prove my point, or at least the way I think about all of this and why I hate leaked, fully anonymously sourced stories. And I think that this is the best way to illustrate it in a different way that I haven't done on this channel. So bear with me. I want to tell you a story, and this is an article that I could write. This is an article that I could sit down right now, write a headline, put my name to it, and everything I tell you in the next couple of minutes is 100% fact. Here's a headline that I could write that is factual. We'll call it the Black Vault Times, fictional newspaper, obviously. But my headline would read, Leaked Classified Document Details Secret UFO Cases and Photographs. That is an accurate headline. My article would tell you the following, and of course, the most eloquently worded way when I would write the article, but here's a bullet-pointed list. I got the document from a source, an anonymous source. I don't give you his name. He gave me a secret briefing presentation that was leaked from the U.S. intelligence community, specifically the National Security Agency. In fact, he showed me irrefutable proof that he's telling the truth, but I won't show you that. The source sent it to me through an encrypted channel. He didn't go through email. He didn't fax it to me. He didn't do anything but send it to me via encrypted methods. The source proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that his career has him fully entrenched in numerous facets of the Department of Defense, the military, and he works within an industry that has brought him numerous other official contacts, and he's even got access to blueprints, and he showed me, of highly advanced and potentially even leading towards classified schematics for U.S. Navy technology. That's all true. The document also shows 3 UFO cases. They're classified secret, and they have photographs. All of them. Now, he sent this to me through encrypted means because he wanted to show me the document. So I could write this headline and write this story and show you guys. In fact, I'll show you the photographs. These are from that briefing presentation, classified secret. These are not mock-ups. I took screenshots of them. 3 UFO cases. You can see right there, one of which is even labeled November 17th, 2005. Now, that's pretty interesting, right? Now, some of you are looking at that. Oh, that's fake. Oh, that's a seagull. Oh, that's, a balloon. Oh, that's... Well, hold on a second, because what I'm showing you are these secret UFO photographs. Of course, everybody's going to want to analyze them. But in my story, I could show all of these, and all of those bullet points are absolutely true. Now, that would be a killer story. I think that anybody would want to read that. I think that I would get press for it. I think people would find it interesting. I think some people would definitely have explanations for this, and many would go online and try and figure out the source and so on and so forth. But don't worry, for the thought experiment, I'm going to tell you everything. I'm going to revisit the slide that I showed you of all of the bullet points that I would write about. That source, that anonymous one, was Brett Tingley. Now, if you don't know Brett is an amazing investigative journalist, and the presentation that he sent me was a classified document that leaked and has been on the internet for years, was leaked by Edward Snowden. All you had to do was know where to look to find it. He sent it to me through an encrypted channel. That's all true, but for no other reason other than we talk on Signal. It happens to be an encrypted method, and it's just direct and easy to do. So he had sent me a direct link. He proved beyond a doubt his career had him entrenched on all these numerous facets of DoD and military tech. Well, as I mentioned, he's a fantastic investigative journalist. He reports on defense-related issues. His recent work includes the phenomenal research he did on the Navy patents and the weird technology that's connected to that. That's like the triangle and all that stuff. That was published by The Drive, the Drive's Warzone. The tech is potentially classified, maybe, if they took it that far, but the patents are not. But he had access to all of that. In fact, so do you. I just didn't tell you the details of what he had access to. I just kind of fluffed it up a little bit to make it look good. The document did show 3 cases, but we don't know the context, because the context of the briefing I left out of my reporting in our fictional thought experiment. Why? Because it was all about deception. It wasn't even created by the U.S. government. It was just shared with it. It was secret, but it was shared by the UK government and given to the United States intelligence community. And again, it was all about deception. In the context of the briefing, we don't really know why the UFO cases were in there, but likely how UFOs could essentially be used for disinformation or deception. But that's all kind of a guess. So when I omit all those details, you can assume that those 3 cases are real, that they are classified UFO military, potentially military photographs, all of which I reported was true in our thought experiment. I just left out all of the details. Now, the reason why Brett shared this with me was because of the cover page. He just got a kick out of it. Let me show it to you. The Art of Deception, a very familiar theme. I'm not trying to impress you, but I'm Batman. He got a kick out of that. He later tweeted it out. This whole thought experiment I did clear with him to make sure he was cool with me kind of throwing him under the bus here. No, he didn't try and share this with me and be some kind of secret source. No, he didn't try and pass this off about on anything that it was or wasn't. He just showed it to me because of the cover page. My whole point with this is that when you start looking at these articles, journalists, bloggers, whatever you want to call them, are doing these on sites that are not giving you the information because they don't want to. It's not that they don't have it. We've clearly gone through the points where they're naming specific time frames and so on and so forth, but they are not giving you all the information. Now, I'm not saying release sources. I'm not saying to release who gave it to you. I'm just saying that if people like former DNI John Ratcliffe, former CIA Director John Brennan, current Senator Marco Rubio, current Senator Mark Warner, former Director of the CIA James Woolsey, if all of those people, both former and current, are going on the line and talking about this phenomena, why is it that no one that's connected to this seemingly unclassified information, stuff that may be for official use only, but very low-level classification, if classification at all, why won't they come out? The U.S. military has gone on the record and said, we investigate UFOs, and those 3 videos that leaked out, they admitted to them. Now, maybe a year from now, a month from now, 5 years, 10 years, I'll eat crow, so to speak, and the military will come out and say, yep, those photographs are absolutely real, and those are UFOs. Great. Then we've taken the next step to still not knowing anything about the photos, but at least we have acknowledgement that they are official. That may even come tomorrow for all I know, because 2021 is probably going to be a really strange year as the light at the end of the tunnel for the COVID pandemic is coming nearer and nearer, as is that UAP report. So who knows what's going to be in there. But I hope this thought experiment shows you that with the simple omission of certain details, not maliciously, but I just decide not to tell you so I can make the Black Vault look just that much better, look more in the know. The least I tell you, the better. And that's what we have to question when it comes to, again, these blogs and journalists, whomever this applies to, when they break a story and they don't tell you anything about where they got it or who gave it to them or in what context, or give you quotes that they don't even source. What can we do with that? What truly can we do with it from an investigative standpoint? I've watched and seen so many people on social media just buy this reporting. Why don't you question it? You should question it. If it's truthful, then you'll never do anything to damage it. But rather, people are so willing to accept what's given to them, they don't realize that they're not getting the full story. And with our thought experiment here, when you get the full story, that's why I say context is key. That's why all the facts matter. Protect the sources, that's fine. But back up what they're trying to say. That will take us to the next level and the next step, because I will almost guarantee that UFO/UAP report that's coming later this year will not make you happy. It just won't. There'll be classified annex citations in there, and it will not have what you want. So we, if we want the answers, have to push ourselves, and we have to ask the question. If we sit back and just allow all of this to keep dominating the headlines where there's nothing to back it up, and the intelligence community and the Department of Defense and that UAP task force, whatever it encompasses, I bet you is laughing. I don't know for sure, that's a guess, but since so many others are guessing in their reporting, why can't I guess on this channel? They're probably laughing, because I would bet the narratives that we're being told, the reporting that's being done on articles like this, where secret sources are giving evidence that we can't trace anything with, they know that muddies the water. And from an intelligence standpoint, from a deception standpoint, that's gold, because they don't have to do any disinformation campaign. They can let the general public and the mainstream media that gets away with reporting stuff like this without question, They could just let all that happen. And it's free. No need to fund a deception campaign. It's all free. I hope that illustrates why I get passionate about some of this stuff, and I know that it doesn't make people happy. I'm not talking trash about anybody, but what I am saying is we deserve more than that, more than these 3 photographs. Thanks for taking this journey beyond the Black Vault with me. I'm always interested in your comments. Be kind, be nice, and I'll be nice back to you. Thumbs up. Subscribe, comment, let me know what you think. This is John Greenwald Jr. signing off, and we will see you next time.